Okay. So my name is Bashni, and I have John Mayer Charmant with us, and we're going to be talking about his book. His book is called The Multiverse. Um, yes, I have it right here, and it's a really good book. I enjoyed every page, and I finished the book in about 2 weeks. But yes, this is the book, and he has it out right now, and I'll be putting the link in the description so you guys can check it out. But yes, you can now introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is John Mayer Shalma.
Okay.
A very I'm a follower of knowledge. I love to learn and I love to seek understanding about what I learn. Um, I'm just like anybody else, but I like to think.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. So I noticed that you are a professor.
yes, I have spent some time teaching mathematics
Hmm.
uh, in college. Um,
Mm.
that's one of my passion is mathematics. I like to look at mathematical models and derive theorems and postulates. That those are some of the things that I enjoy doing in my free time.
Okay. That's really good because um I suck at math, and I find it very interesting when people enjoy enjoy it. So yeah, that's really good. Um, okay, so I have questions for you, and I'm going to start with, were there any personal experience that made their way into your book?
That's a very, very good question. And one of the ways I would love to explain that is by evoking fractal geometry. I don't know if you've seen fractals before.
I may have seen it, but I'm not familiar with the term.
They're really beautiful patterns made from mathematical formulas. And one thing that's interesting about them is that the bigger image is also a reflection of the parts of that image. So wherever you look in the image, the same picture you see, the same pattern you see, is the same pattern you're gonna see in the bigger image, and it's gonna keep repeating itself forever and ever. When you look at, there's a mathematical set called the Julia set and the Fatu sets. Um, those are fractals that a lot of people have seen on Google. Like if you've seen images of fractals, that's what you're seeing. And when I look at a question like you posed to, to me, one of the things that I think about is the thing that made me um, write these books is by looking at the group that I belong to. I'm a reflection of Africa, of Black people. So when you look at me, the same thing you could say about the Blacks in, as a whole,
Hmm.
I'm also a reflection of that, at least in terms of consciousness. So I'm a piece. My consciousness is a piece in that African consciousness, and I share the exact same struggles, the exact same joy or struggle, good or evil, all those things that African consciousness manifest. Those are the things that you'll see manifest in my life as well. So yeah,
Mhm.
uh, I think our struggles as a black people and our struggles as a human being as well. Those are the things that push me to write this book, and that's why I came up with some questions to analyze my reality, which is what is going on. That's one of the biggest question. The biggest
Yeah.
questions is what is going on around me, and how is this happening, and why is this happening? And when I ask these questions about myself, um, I'm also asking this question about the consciousness that I belong to, the collective consciousness, which my consciousness belong to. Those are questions that we all ask as Black people, like, what are we? Why is this happening
Mhm.
world to us? And how can we do something about this? We always are gonna be asking those three philosophical questions that fall into the realm of philosophy, mainly epistemology, metaphysics, and ontology. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a crazy answer, but
No, that was a very good explanation. A lot of people don't know what collective consciousness is. And, it's good to explain it in a way where it resonates with everybody, because we all ask these questions like, why is this happening? But not everybody goes deep, and keeps asking, the question that leads to an answer, because it's a lot of it's a lot of work to do that. So that was a good answer.
yeah, there are two characters in my book that when you're talking about collective consciousness, there are great examples of that, mainly Amara and Synergia. Amara is from a universe where everything is in harmony with each other, and collectively, every being, entity, and every ideal, they all come together in in this realm, and they think alike, and they're always
Mm.
in harmony. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a good example of a pure and clean, um, kind of a utopia.
Yeah. I remember that well. Yeah. Okay. So the second question I have is, which character do you relate to the most and why?
um, I must say there's a certain degree to that question, to the answer of that question. I think my favorite character is obviously Adnex, in because I relate to him being a teacher, being a lover of knowledge and philosophy and physics and mathematics, etc. But this is mostly on the mental level. But when it comes to the emotional level, um, I really like Amara, and that's one of the characters that is um, a part of me. Like if I were to just embrace like reality without shame, without holding back, I
Hmm.
think I'll probably act similar to Amara. Like the the the
She's
pure,
like the emotional side of you.
yeah, like the purity of Amara, and like when she expresses her joy, when she expresses her when she expresses her joy or anger or concern. The This is a great character, but of course, when it comes to knowledge, wisdom, and all these things, I have a lot of characters, mainly Adnex. Um, Sapiens is another one that I feel very connected to, because he's wise. He has a certain wisdom to him and ways of explaining things.
Mm. Yeah, I like how you put um parts of you into the characters, you know.
And
Um,
they're all reflection of me. Even the historian is another reflection of me. Um, but you know, but again, this book is multidimensional. It's a reflection of me, but it also represents something else in the world. The historian is like the he's in the embodiment of the the darkness that we as Black people and as Africans face on a daily basis in the world. How the leaders of the world create policies or rules that affect us, and how they prevent us from becoming what we truly are because so many distractions, so many oppositions. Um, that
mhm.
Yeah, you can continue. I think I cut you off a little.
No, you're no, you're good. Um, okay, so the next question I have is, was there a scene or chapter that was especially difficult to write emotionally or structurally?
I'm sure you probably know which one. That was very emotionally challenging for me. It was the scene between the historian and the unknown voice. When after the historian agreed to kind of stop his madness and accept Adnex in his, in his life and help him becoming the chosen one. Um, then, you know, then what happened is the darkness just came back in his heart. And this was hard to write because this is kind of like a father and son relationship. And the son cannot control his emotion. And the father is trying everything he could to make the son sees reason, and he's just too overwhelmed with negative emotion to understand that this is love, this is not actually hate. and
Mm-hmm.
the way he reacted towards his own father was very hard to watch. um at least in my imagination, it was very hard to picture that, uh, because he was
Yeah,
just like the whole situation. um, and then you see the reaction of the unknown voice.
yeah,
He could have eliminated him on the spot. He could have done things to him, but he just let him express his anger, and he did not like oppose him and be like, "Look, you're not fit to be a historian. I could take you out, or anytime. How dare you do that?"
yeah.
Yeah.
He had a lot of the unknown had a lot of patience,
Mhm.
and I did see him as like a father figure, right? And it was heartbroken because he was very patient with the historian, and the historian, he had a lot of like anger, all of these confused emotions, and you know how angels can't really intervene with humans, right? They
Mhm.
gotta let things play out. It was kind of like the unknown to the historian. He had to he just had to watch the historian and not intervene, right? Because that's who the historian was. Maybe the historian has something that he needs to like let happen in the future, and it could be the birth of something, you know. Plus, you don't want to intervene and control everything because then it's like you're blinding yourself. You want to see things for what it is. You can't really force anybody to do anything or, you know, change your mind or see things how you want um, them to see. You don't want them to, you want them to just like do what they feel like they should do because it's like a learning experience for them,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The historian, that's his role, is to look at realities and to influence. All he could do was to influence people to do the right thing, and but he really uh abused his power. That was the real problem, is the abuse, the abuse of his power. Uh, but yeah, he let down the unknown voice, in a lot of ways, and he would not change his mind. He just stick to his way, and that's one of the biggest problems we humans have sometimes. No matter what we learn, I have met people in the United States, and they would tell you that they didn't come from Africa. Like black people would tell me that they don't originate from Africa. No matter how much knowledge some people have, they still want to stick to their own mind, their own way, and not understanding that um, this is what it is. No matter how much information a lot of people in the world has, no matter how many discoveries, some people will still stick to their way and make the same mistakes over and over again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good connection. Um, okay. So the fourth question that I have is, what does your typical writing day looks like?
I would say the first thing in the morning is um, I like to drink tea. That's the thing I like to do. I like ginger tea. I like it. Malby bark. As a tea. Malby bark, hibiscus,
Hmm.
hibiscus. I think they call it. Um, and you know, um, and then once I drink my tea and I eat, um, I like to eat different types of potatoes. As you could clearly see in the book, that
Oh yeah.
Admex likes to eat potatoes, and I love eating potatoes as well, and wheat. Um, yeah, and then after that, after I eat and drink my tea, I like to take a nap, and then while I'm taking the nap, I'm thinking, and then when I woke up, I start meditating. I think writing for me is another way to meditate. So
Yeah.
as I'm writing, I'm just I'm just entering this world, and then I become kind of like connected to this world, and I essentially react to things in this world. It's a simulation in my imagination, and I just let it go, let it play itself out, and then I write.
I like that answer.
Mm.
Yeah. Because I just started writing myself.
Mm.
Yeah. And I'm kind of doing that, you know. It's like kind of like meditation. Um, I just think of ideas and it just comes whenever throughout the day, and I just I just have to quickly write it down because it's a lot of ideas all at once.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like entering a world of like, whatever you're seeing is like wow, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
the way that's how people are able to write a lot. There's a Haitian author, and my parents are Haitian, and I was also born in Haiti. I came here when I was a teenager. Um, there's a Haitian writer named Danny Laferriere, and he's also a very great author. Uh, when he writes, you kind of hear him speak, like the way he speak in real life. It's like the way he writes, and he likes to, it's always imagination for him.
mhm.
Frank Etienne, you probably heard of him. Frank Etienne. Uh,
No, I haven't.
he's very popular. Someone in your family would know of him because he has
Okay.
stories. The the certain mythology. He write about certain mythology,
Mm.
mythological creatures.
I
That
gotta check him out.
Yeah, that exists in Haiti. He writes about
Mm.
where those ideas come from. And he has a story of like a love story between a mythological creature and a human. And it's very interesting, but there's a message in it, uh, which is about like when somebody take control of your mind, like how they brainwash uh, the black people and make them think like there's something that they're not.
Wow.
It's very interesting. Frankie Tien. Yeah, but I like to read these people too, to see what they're thinking um, and how they enter the world of imagination, as you were saying.
Hmm. Yeah, I gotta check him out. So um yeah, because I'm into mythology and creatures and stuff, you
Mhm.
know, fantasies. Okay. So the next question is, how long did it, how long did this book take from the first idea to final draft?
Um, I must say, my first book was um, was written in a span of probably 6 to 7 years because, and that's why it took that long because I didn't intend it to be a book. I really was kind of like writing it, in when I was in high school in Palm Beach County, and when some professors saw my writing and they were like, you should definitely publish that. But I did not want to publish it. I was like, no, I don't think that'll make it, that'll make it all the way there,
Hmm.
And the and throughout the years, I started having new ideas and I put on new ideas in the book. And finally somebody told me, man, you gotta publish it. It looks interesting. And you can create a trilogy, about it. And well, I mean, right now it's a trilogy now because I've
Hmm.
written all three books. I'm just waiting to just publish them, but I've
Hmm.
written all three, and it has a very interesting ending. Um, the whole trilogy, it's a satisfying ending. Um, but yeah, it only took 5 to 7 years because um, I didn't think about publishing it. But from draft to publishing, the book doesn't usually take me more than uh, I would say 6 months
Okay.
because the first writing it's really not that challenging, but the second draft This is when you're trying to make things better. And the third draft, you have someone else see it, like the publisher team.
Hmm.
This is when you're trying to figure out, like, and they're getting another perspective of it. And they need to tell you, what could you do here? What could you not do here? It's a team effort. Um, yeah, and then the fourth stage, publishing it and see what the audience reaction is. I surprisingly got a lot of good reactions from the first book. I did not expect all this reaction. you know,
Really?
yeah, probably because I don't know, I'm probably too humble or something. I did not think it was a big deal, but a lot of people did love it. And I'm continuing the sequel, and hopefully people love the second book more than the first because
Hmm.
I have, with experience, I should improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you were shocked at the good reviews because as I was reading your book, I could imagine in my mind like I'm, watching a movie and that's really good to, that's really good. That's a good compliment. Um, and that's what I really liked about the book too. When no, Adnix and his
Mhm.
wife, they were going through um, their struggles when
Mhm.
his father died, right? And his mom. It was like I imagined it in my mind. It was like really pain, you know, and I really
Yeah,
like that part. Yeah, I
it,
really like that part.
it was heartbreaking. I think it was very heartbreaking for Adnex to experience that because he's the greatest scientist in the world, and he created the nanotech, the technology, the machine creator, and all the technologies that were supposed to lengthen the human life.
Mhm.
And the fact that his own technology could not save his own parents, that's heartbreaking. And he was trying to figure out why. And there was no explanation.
Mhm.
And that was very, not only confusing for him, but heartbreaking. Like he felt like this was, it was like reality.
Like a maybe like I don't know a punishment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like his own punishment for serving the world.
Yeah,
He literally
yeah.
helped people live longer because of technology, and his technology is not working on his parents. And there's like zero explanation on why. I mean, you and I, the reader, we know what the readers, we know what's going on, but he doesn't know that the historian is behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So evil. Um, okay. Yes. So did you ever feel stuck while writing? And if you did, how did you work through that?
Well, this is one of the questions I have to say no, because I have the exact opposite opposite problem. The problem I usually have the most when writing a book is to not be able to stop my thoughts.
Mm.
So most of my books would have been 3,000 pages if I didn't stop somewhere and go to sleep.
Wow.
Because it just the ideas just keep coming, keep coming, and I can't even stop. Like it just keep coming through.
So
Uh,
does that drain you?
yeah, definitely. Part of writing a book is being mentally drained. You are mentally drained with a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts that you're trying to put on the paper. And sometimes even after writing, you go to work, but it's still in your head,
Mm-hmm.
and or you got to take care, of your family. It's still there.
Yeah. So, so you didn't have any problem like articulating anything, like trying to put it into words? Like,
Yeah. As a result of my thoughts going so fast, I would have this problem, at different times of writing. Sometimes I'd want to say something, but my fingers are not moving as fast as my thoughts. Uh,
mm-hmm.
so this could create um, you getting stuck on one idea and then trying to shut off a part of your mind just to finish writing that idea on paper.
Mm, okay.
That's something that happened.
So, would it have been better to like kind of record yourself and it'll type for you? Or do you have to, like, is it better for you to write it down, like
Uh,
type it?
I have, I have tried um, that before. I've tried literally speak it out, record my voice. Um, but but again, it's like when you write, my body is so accustomed to just writing,
Okay.
and hearing a voice feel like uh, being dictated what to write.
Mm,
Such a different feeling. Like I want to immerse myself into what I'm doing. And I would rather experience it and then being able to write it
mm,
than having to hear it.
mhm. Yeah, I
It
understand.
loses it loses some flavor, I would say. Once you
Yeah.
when I have to put it back on paper, what I hear, it's not the same thing as I just put
Also, huh?
yeah. Go
No,
ahead.
also when you're typing, it's quiet.
Mhm.
The ideas are gonna keep coming. If you talk, then the ideas might not come as you're recording. So
Yes.
I just thought about that now
Mhm.
because I have a problem. It's really hard for me to articulate my thoughts into paper.
Mhm.
So, but I've never tried recording, only to jot down ideas. And then when I'm done, I'll put it into what I've imagined.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that makes sense. When you're writing and you're typing, the experience is much more alive, you know. So yeah. So the next question that I have is, well, I think we answered this. Is the question is, do you outline or just write freely?
Or do I do outlines?
Hmm.
Oh no, no, no. This is an abomination to me.
Oh
It's
yeah. Okay.
a very biblical term to describe it because hey, it's one of those things. If you start doing outlines, you are creating a prison for your mind, you know? And you have to go through that outline in whatever direction you want to. Like, do you go down? Do you go up? Um, do you start at the beginning of the story or the end of the story or in the middle? For me, the story is not in time for me. It's in my mind. And my consciousness is not really in time. It's outside of time. And I have to allow things to come out of um, this other world that I'm draining information from.
Hmm.
And having an outline it's because it has to change. I don't have I can start writing a scene at the end of the story right now, or somewhere in the story. I don't even know what the scene is, but I'm writing it because that's how I write. If you see what I write first and second and third, it would look like a zigzag sign. It looks like a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
E's and squiggles all over the place. Like Luxers Multiverse, the Grand Design, my first book. I think one of the first portions that were written was um, the historian talking to Memphis. That was literally the first
Mm-hmm.
portion written in the book. And if you look at the book, you would think the first portion would have something to do with Adnex, but it's just two people talking about how they can hurt Adnex.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw outline works for some people, and I do not discourage it. But if you do use it, you also have to allow yourself to be free at some points in your writing,
Yeah.
and
And only, sorry
yeah,
for cutting.
so, yeah, and not subjugate yourself um, to just an order in storytelling. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Outline maybe to just put ideas down that you find interesting, you want to add to the story. You know, that's what I do. You know, I have like a bunch of ideas.
Mhm.
You know, when you create stories, it could go either way.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you're like imagining things and they're not in order, you're just writing them. It's like it's like putting the story together and you don't even like know what's going on, you know? You don't know what's going on. So you kind of want to like just write notes down to see where it can fit into the story.
Yeah, there's a level of order that you need in the story, and as I said, outlines do work for some people. Um, but when it comes to my writing method, and sometimes the final product of my story is connecting all the dots.
Hmm.
So I have to work on the individual pieces first, and then after that, I connect all the pieces together, and all of a sudden, I have a piece of art in front of me.
Do you
But
find it better? Sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
Do you find it better um writing like talking scenes or the structure, like the scene, like the environment, like first, like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, do I find it better to describe the environment first?
Yeah, like the structure of your story or people having a conversation, or you know what I mean? To as you start writing. I don't know if
Okay.
I'm saying
The,
it.
the the environment of my story is very important to the storytelling of like the environment is usually connected to the conversation, and sometimes it's even a how would I say that, it's a foretelling of what the conversation is going to be about. uh, so I think they come hand in hand uh, together, like the conversation and the environment and the people speaking. It's all connected, and it, it's like there's not one without the other.
Hmm.
Otherwise it creates something else that that lacks um, vital elements.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I look at all all the little pieces, and my stories are written in a multidimensional way too. So it's not one dimensional, and sometimes people need to read it once or I mean twice or three times to see what what was happening in that scene, because it's so easy to kind of miss the imagery of some scenes,
Hmm.
as it is in all forms of arts. So
Yeah, it's true.
you need to look at something, a painting twice to see something you missed before.
Hmm. Okay. That was a good explanation. Um, so the next question is how I think we answered that. As we're like answering questions, we're kind of like already answering the next question. So I'm
You
gonna
see,
skip some. Yeah,
that's the thing with outlines.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we answered this. Well, I'm not sure. Were there any books or authors that influenced your style?
Uh, with all honesty, I wanted to write the way I talk. Uh, I know there must be some people out there that have the same writing style as me because I'm not, because some
Hmm.
people are similar to me, you know?
Hmm.
There's a lot of similarities between me and some black authors, you know,
Hmm.
and black scientists. Um, as I told you, Denny Lafayette, Frank Etienne, um, they're they're two of my favorite authors. I might have subconsciously taken um, certain things from them. And Neil deGrasse Tyson as well. He's an African American author. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I took a lot um, of my understanding of physics specifically from Neil deGrasse Tyson's books. Um, Michio Kaku is is an Asian. I think he's Asian. I don't remember exactly where he's from. If it's Japan or Korea or China. Um, but he had this book called The Physics of the Future that I actually enjoyed. Um, yeah, I have a lot of people.
That's good.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Stephen Hawking was was specifically one of the people uh, that I admired, and also I had a lot of disagreement with him.
Yeah.
So you can clearly see like the title of my book is The Grand Design, and he also had a similar title to that in one of his books. And I was looking at his books, and um, and I was like, uh, I need to give another philosophical interpretation of the world that is not based on on hopelessness or atheistic philosophies. Um, Something that's more grounded in my ancestral heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you'll see a lot of ancestral ideas in my book. I don't know if you caught
Yeah.
them. Um,
Yeah. I like the scene with I don't know if that counts, but I like the scene with Adnex uh meditating and he he got he got close to the historian
mhm.
and I think the historian kind of like did something and kind of like pushed him back
Yeah.
to his like room.
Yeah, that was, that scene is so beautiful because it's a metaphor of what's happening to Black people in the world, literally.
Hmm.
Uh, the water, the wind, the wind lifting them up. That wind could be our music, our art, our intelligence,
Mm,
and whenever we have good things going on for us, lifting us up from one point to another, and then you have a brute force of coming from other places and stopping us from achieving what we're supposed to achieve. Like look at the Tulsa massacre. Well, it was a big example of that when we had Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. Something beautiful for the Black community, but
yeah.
disrupted by the hatred and uh, the brute force of hatred uh, and lack of compassion from other groups.
Mm,
So that adnex is also a symbol of the Black man. And the word adnex means united or joined. So it in itself, it's the drawing consciousness of everything we are and everything we go through in this life. Um, and also comes the philosophical questions um, with adnex story.
yeah, I like how you put everything together. The names have meanings. Everything has meaning, you know.
Yeah, it's all intentional. Like I don't know if you ever saw that. I told my birthday is actually in the book.
Well,
One,
yeah.
yeah, one of the uh, dates that something happened in the book is literally directly from my birthday. So I poured myself into the book in a lot of ways. The
Mm,
and the numerology of the book is fascinating as well.
yeah, I like that. That's why you're getting a lot of good reviews when you pour yourself to, your story, and they're like real life experience, it will resonate with other people, you know. Yeah, that's what makes a really good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so the next question is, do you revise as you write or wait until the end to edit?
I wait till the end uh, because I think it's a distraction as you're writing. And I think that's why a lot of people are not authors right now because they like to revise every single thing they write. And that's not going to help you progress in a story. You need to write the way you want to write. And then
Mm,
after that, you can go back and kind of rejigger things there,
mm,
and make sure that certain things fit well with the narrative that you're trying to portray. But I would not advise anybody to every single page you write to revise it. I think it delays the story.
mm,
It delays your imagination as well.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. But I also find it like revising. Maybe if you go read a story, you probably didn't put it how you wanted to put it the first time. So you want to correct that part until it fits the imagination that you want. It could be helpful in a way.
No, no, it's definitely helpful. My point is that as you are writing as an author, you shouldn't put too much attention on presentation, uh, because there are different uh, stage of writing and fixing. editing your story to make it look good or to give it a good presentation. That's another stage of writing, of publishing a book. That's not the first stage. The first stage is really the raw material. And
Mm,
the second stage is, well, now you gotta look at a grammar, you gotta look at it textual structures, you gotta look at its pages, at all those things, and correcting grammar error or ideas error. But
okay.
I I I have seen some people who are so worried about presentation that their story becomes so light. When I say light, I mean with no substance, because they focus so much on presentation rather than looking at what is your story about. You want substance before you do a good presentation.
Mm, yes, I can agree on that.
Yeah, yeah, but in no way I'm saying this is not important. This is actually probably the most important, one of the most important things that you have to do when you write a book is to revise, to organize your story in order to present it to people.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
it shouldn't be your primary focus when you first start
yeah.
writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what did we answer that? You you published your book the traditional way, right? It wasn't like self-published.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I submitted it to a publisher and we went through the editing process and they communicated with several publishing companies to have them on their websites so that anyone using um, companies like Amazon or all the popular book companies can have the book on their platforms. Um, but but there was a kind of like um, three. After I wrote it, I put my book through many stages, and then once I'm done, I submitted the publication, and they themselves look at it, look at the organization, and and then they had a team asking me questions. Why would I like? This is what they think, and then with what they think and what I think, I'm trying to, I try to collaborate with them
Mhm.
um, because I might disagree, and they might disagree with something as well. So we try
Hmm.
to on a common ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Common ground. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Did you face any rejections? And if you did, how did you deal with them?
From publishers,
Your whole writing experience, you to reviews.
okay, no, I did not find any rejection in my writing experience. Um, yeah, I can't remember any rejection.
Yeah.
No, no, the first book that I had, the only thing is I wanted it to be a little longer, uh, but but I did not make it as long as I wanted it to be. And that's why I have a second book to kind of, uh, and a third to kind of
Mm,
the story. But the first one I wanted it to be way longer than it actually is.
okay.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Mhm.
Um, if you could go back, would would you have done anything different before writing your book?
Well, of course. Of course, I would have done a lot of things differently. I mean, one of the things I would have done differently is not to wait that long in order to publish a book that I've written, because I've waited way too long. I started writing this book in high school. Just think about it, and I published it when I was like 26 years old. So that's a lot of years having a manuscript, uh, and not doing anything about it. Uh, the second thing is the of course now knowing more about writing and my writing improving better, I would have written things probably differently or stories differently or some paragraphs differently. Um, but of course that's a natural thing.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, your writing was like really good. And it was unique, you know.
You know, the second book that I've written, um, I remember submitting that book to a publisher and they were like, did you write this? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, that is that is crazy story. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, yeah. And they're like, you're so intelligent, man. Uh, and they were giving me all these phrases. Um, but it's not about intelligence for me. It's about going into a world,
Mm-hmm.
and taking things from there and coming back here with it. That's the only way I can explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It might look like a lot, but it's allowing myself to be this person. For me, it's more like a revelation.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you
Yeah.
ever heard that book called Apocalypse? From the biblical store, the biblical books. There's a book called Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Revelation too, I think. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the way I see my. That's the way I am towards my own imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know what you mean. It's like you have all of these, it's like you have a whole world in your head and you just
Yeah.
want to let it out, you know?
In this case, worlds.
World, yeah. And
Many.
yeah, and it has like the potential to be a great like superhero movie. That's how I saw it, you know? And I love those
It's
type of movies.
definitely, you know, I had somebody comparing it, with a superhero story, but there's something interesting about or a lack of opportunity in superhero stories to make it more about the ideas than actually about the physical actions. And I love physical action. I love to write fighting scenes and all that. A lot of people like my fighting scenes. They're like, bro, that's cool. Whenever I
Yeah, I liked it.
yeah,
Mm,
but I think a lot of people also the superhero genres that relies on comic books. Sometimes they're so focused on the action that the the rationale behind the stories are like, okay, it's
mm,
not really the explanation for why things happen is not really detailed, and that's why I think a book uh, is a better way to imagine something.
mm,
Like besides not having pictures that that leave
yeah.
to that leaves the imagination to the reader. But I think with a book you could have a richer imagination than if you were to just have a comic book in front of you in which they give you already the picture, but There's a lot of details that are missing, a lot of um, just a lot of things missing. I'm just and I'm a comic book person. I've read a lot of comic books, in my life, starting with Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I love them for what they are. But when I read a science fiction book, that's a whole different experience.
Yeah, yeah. You put all the details and I've learned a lot from your book. It's like you made it easy for me to understand stuff, that I probably wouldn't have, in high school or college. Yeah, because like I said, I'm not really good with math, numbers, or details. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not really good with details. I'm a very imaginative person. So like, can make, if you can explain something and I understand, that's really good. Um, so the next question, we're gonna try to rush this because it's 1 hour.
Oh,
The interview is 1 hour, and I don't want it to cut off. So yeah. Um, okay. Yeah. If your protagonist met you in real life, what would they say to you?
I, I mean, if they were to beat me, my protagonist is like a celebrity, probably would have never met me.
Yeah,
That's popular, right?
yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, but if you were to meet me, in real life and take the time to talk to me, I think they would encourage me, and they would give me good advices. And the crazy thing about your question is that I can't wait for you to read the second book because there is a scene in the second book that's exactly that, what you just said, which is kind of interesting. You're having a revelation right
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to read it. Um,
now. Yeah, yeah, but they would have loved me because um, I think like my protagonist. We think
mhm.
almost the exact same way. So it's from me, it's from my imagination and from my ways of
Yeah,
thinking.
I think you guys would be buddies.
Not the antagonist though. I think he would try to kill me.
But there's a part of you in him.
Yeah, there's a part of me that want to kill me.
That's true. Um, so let's talk about your new books. Are they out right now?
Not out yet, but supposed to come out somewhere this year. Maybe in 3 months. Not sure. Um, but somewhere this year, it's supposed to come out. The title is Luxers Multiverse, so it's still in the trilogy of Luxers Multiverse, and then Eternity. So the first one was the subtitle was the Grand Design, and the second one, the subtitle is Eternity.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the third one? Do you have a third one?
yeah, I could tell you the third one. The third one is Luxers Multiverse Alkebula.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And you know what Alkebulan is? Alkebulan is literally the real name of Africa.
Hmm.
So
I'm getting like a Wakanda type of uh vibe from that.
it might be related to it, but it's
Yeah.
definitely on a multiversal scale. Um, but yeah, you gotta understand all my stories. The message is really concerning the Black consciousness. That's what it revolves around. It's I don't know if you ever heard of dynamical system.
No.
So it's a mathematical. Um, it is those are mathematical concepts, and in dynamical system is the study of the way things move in a system. And the first concept is the space state. So that space, um, it's where everything happened in a system. So we are in a system, and in that system, there's a history to it. Throughout the ages, this is how the system behaves. There's a space state to that system. And then, you have different types of systems. Some systems are linear, nonlinear, continuous, discrete system, and then they look different. The way the elements in the systems move, they move differently according to the type of system. Um, and that's what they call the trajectories of the system. So that part of mathematics is applied in like the weather, the way the weather. That's how people study the weather
Hmm.
and any system, but it also applies to our real system. And what's been happening to the Black consciousness is been going through stages of dynamical system, and there will be some feedback loop that we are the minorities here, and then there will be some feedback loop between the Black consciousness and other consciousness in the world. There will be some resistance, and we'll have some influence in the system, and ultimately break away from that system to become um, this this new force in the system that completely changed the face of it. That's just a dynamic. That's just applying dynamical system to the world system, and that's this kind of prophetic vision that I see for the Black consciousness. And throughout the trilogy of the book, you see this evolution, how the character Adnex is going through that revolution. And you also see some groups of people going through that evolution of like, now you here, you move in the middle, and then ultimately you move on top and where you're supposed to be.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, that's just a short parent parenthesis that I opened.
Hmm. Yeah. And I kind of understood a little because, it's like learning a new subject. So that's just
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
I try not to
Hmm.
subjects. But sometimes it's too tempting.
Yeah, I can see the passion in you when you talk about, you know, your math, physics, I can see the passion. I have another friend that's like that. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, so I understand.
Yeah.
He's a lover of that. But yeah, so that was all the questions. Um, and I'm happy that we did this interview. It was very interesting, and I've learned a lot, for myself in my writing. Um, so I hope other people can learn from you if they want to write a book, you know, and I hope they also buy, I don't know if you could see it, buy your book. And I also put like um a link to your Instagram.
Mhm.
Yeah, in the description. Um, yeah, so yeah, it was really nice having you. Is there anything you want to share before we go?
Yeah, I just hope this book helps um, everyone, in this world to question their lives and also get answers to why they exist on this planet because we all have a purpose here. and you don't want to leave this place without knowing why you exist. And to all groups, and I do mean that to Caucasians, Asians, um, Latinos, and whatever group you fall into, you don't want to live a life without purpose. And I also direct that specifically to also the Black community. Uh, you know, because a lot of us we have an identity problem, and we don't stand on what we are. And I advise everyone to in the Black community uh, to kind of ask questions, to look for answers instead of just giving up and not moving forward because things are too tough out there. You know, find your purpose. that's my
Yes,
that's the only thing I can say.
yes, I love that. That's a really good um ending to this video. Um, find your purpose, ask questions, even if it doesn't make sense. The answers are gonna come if you really want to know something. It's gonna come. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here, and I'm so happy
Hmm.
to be here and being interviewed. And I hope we have another interview in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm, honored to interview you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so um this is the end of the interview, and make sure you guys get his books. I'll leave his information below, and check him out. And I hope you guys learned something from this video. Yeah.
Okay, let there be light.
Let there be light. All right. You have a good day.
You too.
All right.